They don't come from Earth. The NIMITZ encounter UFOs. The Pentagon has published the UFO analysis of the 13 declassified pages concerning these UFOs. They don't come from Earth. This is what the Pentagon has recently declared. I'm translating this from the Italian. The translation, I'll leave a link below for you for this. This is what the Pentagon has recently declared, publishing the UFO analysis of the 13 declassified pages. The former intelligence officer of the Pentagon, leader of the government-funded AATIP, Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. This is, of course, the program having to do with the ETs and the UFOs. Louis Elizondo, was the one who released the U.S. Navy's F-18 Hornet military fighter clip to the public, trying to intercept a UFO on the Pacific. We're talking about the NIMITZ encounters here as well. But it wasn't just in the Pacific. These things have been going on the East Coast as well. Now, the video that everyone has already seen showed an encounter between American fighter planes and an unidentified flying object, an object nicknamed Tic Tac due to its unusual shape. The object was more than 40 feet long and seemed to withstand a highly advanced sensors of the USS Nimitz and USS Princeton aircraft carriers that they tried to fathom. Although they could detect the object, it was impossible to keep its sensor stationary on the alien aircraft to track its movement, since it had unexpected speed and maneuverability. It was going too fast for the sensor to keep locked on it. Now, interviews with pilots and staff implicated how ships tracked for at least 3 of these items for weeks, and pointed out that they showed strange behavior, such as suddenly appearing at high altitude, then falling and standing still. They evacuated the ships for some time, but eventually the F-18s were able to get close to them. Commander David Fravor, the pilot who led the intercepting flight to the unknown aircraft, reported that the object would coincide with his movements precisely, staying out of reach. In other words, he was like, I'm in your face, what are you going to do about it, type of thing. In other words, they knew that the pilots were seeing them, and they wanted to make themselves known. This is something very, very astonishing and scary in my mind. Now they're making their existence known. And they obviously know that this means that the governments are very astonished at this and have to examine them. So they must have some kind of an agenda that we don't know about, obviously. Now, going back to this, I'm talking about the alien UFO agenda. What are they up to? Now, going back to this, when Fravor made a brave attempt to intercept, the Tic Tac object accelerated and was lost sight in seconds. The pilot said it's like nothing I have ever seen. An unclassified 13-page military report describes Nimitz Tic Tacs as anomalous aerial vehicles and noted the AAVs do not belong to any country in the world. Okay, that we know of so far. Another alarming ability that the AAVs seem to possess, they're talking about the UFOs, so I have to say UFOs here. Another ability that the UFOs seem to possess, in addition to speed and maneuverability, are the ability to fly abnormally, even underwater. At one point I remember, because I saw the tapes on YouTube, the witnessing what they said. They even flew underwater and just hovered underneath the surface of the water. And then there, out of nowhere, came these little tiny drones and were circling above the water where the bigger UFO was underneath the surface, and they were on top of the surface surrounding the submerged UFO for some reason. So the water didn't seem to affect it. It was like whether it was in air or in water, it didn't seem to affect the maneuverability, the speed, or anything. So it went even underwater, and the UFOs, as written in the declassified files, have much higher speeds than those we know and could become invisible both to the radar and to the human eye. Essentially, Mr. Elizondo said they were undetectable and you could not challenge them. And he expressed his belief that the evidence is present and underlines the fact that human beings are not alone in the universe. The Pentagon admits nothing other than the fact that it authorizes a study on UFOs. Unfortunately, the Pentagon has not published more statements about the USS Nimitz meeting or anything else related to these unidentified and, of course, really advanced technology ships. The declassified 13 pages of the UFO report, the document is provided to us by the intrepid I-team of George Knapp, which is part of the CBS Channel 8 Las Vegas affiliate channel. You can and should read it in its entirety by clicking here. It says the Knapp team explains how they obtained the document and stating, quote, "Earlier this year, we made a whirlwind trip to Washington for a debriefing organized by former Senator Harry Reid. While in Washington, the I-team obtained copies of unclassified documents relating to UFO meetings, including Tic Tac. The analysis was compiled in 2009 with the contribution of several agencies and confirms that the Nimitz group has had several interactions with UFOs and AAVs, they're called anomalous aerial vehicles. The 13-page report is not dated and lacks a cover, but provides a rich account of the meeting, with clear accounting of the resources and sensors involved, and how the Navy handled the incident in an administrative manner later. The U.S. supercarrier Nimitz, the Ticonderoga class cruiser USS Princeton, the airborne E-2 Hawkeye and early control craft, and the FA-18C Hornets and FA-18F Super Hornets were all involved in these incidents. Other ships that were part of the Nimitz carrier strike group were also probably involved, but to a lesser extent. But perhaps the most important thing is that it was not just an accident. The report states that the objects were detected within 6 days from November 10th to November 16, 2004. Intermittent radar detection of the number of objects near the attack group while sailing the waters from the Baja Peninsula, south of California, showed a fantastic agility. They descended from 60,000 feet down to just above the water in a matter of seconds and stopped there before reducing to high speeds and turning speeds. However, even with an arsenal of the world's most powerful air defense sensors and combat systems, objects were impossible to track continuously. These objects, these AAVs, these UFOs. The report finds that if the USS Princeton, which serves as the nerve center for the carrier's attack group air warfare mission, was in ballistics missile monitoring mode, it may have been able to better track objects through filters that eliminate the disturbance not indicative of an open threat that at that time was not active. The objects, or UFOs, have never shown hostility, but certainly, as the Pentagon says, they were not of this earth. This is by SEGNI CIELO editorial office, but I also I'll leave a link below for you, of course, but I want to read the American text of the note here. Now it says here, all onboard systems were functioning normally. The radar was in a standard search mode RWS 80NM 4-bar intra, and the FLIR was in L+7 slave. The FLIR would point in direction of the L+S track. There was no radio or communication interference, and they had entry into the Link 16 network. Initial awareness of the object came via the radar. According to the radar display, the initial tracks were at approximately 30 to 40 nm to the south of the aircraft. LT, and this is all redacted, was controlling the radar and FLIR and attempted multiple times to transition the radar to single target track, SST mode, on the object. The radar could not take a lock. The B-sweep would raster around the hit, build an initial aspect vector which never stabilized, and then would drop and continue normal RWS B-sweep. When asked, LT, redacted, stated that there were no jamming cues, strobe, champagne bubbles, any normal EA indications. It just appeared as if the radar couldn't hack it. The radar could not receive enough information to create a single target track file. The FLIR in LNS slave pointed in direction of the initial track files as the radar attempted lock. The FLIR showed an object at 0 ATA and approximately 5 degrees elevation. According to LT, redacted, the target was best guess altitude or a few thousand feet below, estimating the object to be between 15 to 20,000 feet. The object, according to the FLIR, appeared stationary. There were no discernible movement from the object, with the only closure being a result of the aircraft's movement. As LT, redacted, watched the object, it began to move out of FLIR field of view to the left. LT, redacted, made no attempt to slew the FLIR and subsequently lost situational awareness to the object. The flight continued with training missions with no further contact with this object. This, of course, the Department of Defense has decided to look into this and has asked pilots who have had encounters and witnessed such events to come forward and report it to them, give them details, because it's a matter of national security. They have to find out who is behind this. Where are they coming from? What do they want here? And what their goal is. How long they've been here. Where they're from. There's so many questions to be answered. Where do you start? I'm just shocked. I just can't get over this. This opens up a whole Pandora's box of things, questions that have to be answered. But you just can't ignore this. Because they're there. You just can't ignore this. Anyway, I'll leave a link below for you for this. For anyone who knows Italian, it's from SEGNI CIELO, and I'll leave a link below for you. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.